I really think it's all part of a much bigger agenda. They're not really interested in healing you. What they're interested in doing is controlling you. This is how all-pervasive this controlling mind is, folks. This is how psychopathic these people are. People everywhere have the same right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And when the government becomes destructive of that, then it is patriotic to dissent and to criticise, to do what we always praise and call heroic when we look upon the dissenters and critics in totalitarian countries who dare to speak out. You've heard me talk about division, and how division is one of the main tools that is used to hold us back, and one of the main reasons why we never seem to be able to bring about any type of effective change. It's because we live in such a divided society. And this may seem somewhat irrelevant at the moment in talking about how humanity has been hijacked, but really it is quite an important issue, folks. It's very much part of it, because the hijacking is only able to occur, only able to perpetuate itself via the generally divided state of mankind. All of these issues are simply symptoms of the one problem. That one problem being corruption in government. Essentially a corrupt system. I mean, the system itself is completely corrupt, folks. It isn't just corruption in government. It's an inherently dysfunctional system, and that is the problem. The issue that caused all of these symptoms to become manifest, that we're actually going to find a remedy to any of the symptoms that we're all attempting to address. And I'm not saying that people should stop speaking out against problems. We need to speak out against things, but we need to also do other things apart from speaking out against them. We only really need to speak out against them in order to bring about public awareness, but you can't expect to actually change anything by just speaking out against a certain issue. A lot of people have been gaining some understanding of the law of mirroring and how reality will mirror back to you the emotional state you're in, and a lot of people are having difficulty manifesting the type of reality they want these days. And there's a reason for that, folks. And essentially it's based on the energetic state of the reality you are interacting with, because the energetic state of reality around us has been vastly changed over the last few decades. I believe that people really need to pay some serious attention to the transhumanist agenda. I think that the electromagnetic soup that we're swimming in, and the damage that things such as smart meters and mobile phones and microwave technology in general is doing to the human organism, I think it's profound. I think that it's affecting us in so many ways that we're not aware of, and I really do believe there is a higher agenda to this. Because not only does it disconnect us from the natural frequencies of the planet, the natural frequencies that should exist all around us, it also provides a platform, a mechanism, if you will, by which we can be electromagnetically interfered with. And remember, folks, that everything you experience is electromagnetic. Every feeling, every taste, every smell, every thought, everything that you experience, everything that you are, is electromagnetic. You are essentially a frequency of consciousness that inhabits a biological vessel, and this frequency of consciousness is able to interact with the world around it by means of electromagnetism. Because, as I said, everything you experience is quite literally an electromagnetic frequency. Every touch, every smell, everything that you are, every interaction that you have with the world that is outside of your body is experienced electromagnetically. That's how the information gets to your brain. That's how it travels around your body. That's how it travels up your nerves. That's how things work, folks. And we know that things can be affected via electromagnetic signals. Look at the remote control for your television, for example. And since you are an electromagnetic being, what makes you assume for one moment that you could not be interfered with remotely via the electromagnetic soup that you're swimming in? And I truly do believe that the entire transhumanist agenda is about control. It's not about anything else. It's not about enhancing the human experience. It's not about improving human biology. I think such incredible steps have been undertaken in order to limit the potential of human biology as it is. Really, folks, it's all about control. That's what the whole transhumanist agenda is about. That's what the whole electromagnetic control grid is all about. It's about control. And humankind is being controlled in so many ways, folks, very much biologically, through the introduction of genetically modified food. And don't think that this is not causing a real problem, because it is. It's causing a huge problem for the species, and not only for our species, but for all other species. This is how all-pervasive this controlling mind is, folks. And this is how psychopathic these people are. They literally believe that they can do better than creation itself. They believe that mankind is the top of the universal food chain, and even God can't come close to what we can do ourselves through technology. The issue really is helping people see that, and helping people see the system for what it is, which is a very difficult thing. It's a very difficult hurdle to overcome, because people are very much programmed by the television, very much programmed by the education system. They're trained to think within a certain box, and if you offer them a suggestion of anything which doesn't fit within the parameters of that box, they very often simply dismiss it offhand as being impossible. And it's the same with the system of control. Because it's never mentioned on the television, it's never presented to them by reporters and by the mainstream media, then they think it's impossible for such a system to exist. They don't see the media for what it is. They don't see the government for what it is. They really don't see reality for what it is. And the most significant part about it, of course, is they don't see themselves for what they are. Because it's when you truly discover yourself that all of the barriers break down, all of the mechanism becomes apparent and becomes clear before your eyes as soon as you discover yourself. And it is this self-discovery which is also extremely beneficial in combating the systems of control that mankind in general is subject to. A lot of people find it very difficult, folks. They become aware of the system and it just becomes depressing for them. They don't know how to really get around it. They don't know how to live their lives normally. They don't know how to go through day-to-day life knowing that the system is there. It is quite a shocking revelation for many people when they discover the systems of control that are all around us all the time.
I think that we are at a really crucial point. And I think one of the main purposes of this is soul harvest. It's a soul trap. The well of souls that I've talked about before. I mean, as I've said, if you can get people so locked into a false reality that they're putting on glasses and they're in this virtual world, and really what attaches your soul to your vessel, the vessel that you're in, like it's the I am, the awareness. You know, I am Jean, I am Max, I am here in this world, I exist. Your soul is attached to that I am. If they can get you in a mainframe and get you in a virtual world where you still believe I am, then your soul is still attached to that. It's a place that I believe is called the Well of Souls. The whole talk of wanting to bring this huge demonic entity into being, Satan, whatever you want to call it, whatever you believe it is, apparently it needs a certain amount of souls to do that. And I think that's what they do. They trap people into the mainframe. And I think they've done this before. And I think that's why it's so difficult to wake a lot of people up. It's because they're already in the mainframe. I think half the people out there aren't even real people. They're just minds, consciousness that's driving an avatar that thinks that they're real, but they're not. They're not really alive. They're in the mainframe already. And I think that's what all this is about. Of course, you're not going to get all the people to do it, so you need to depopulate. It's like a people farm. You know, you got to have all of this excess stuff around. It's like the corn flour in the stew to thicken the stew. You know, but there's only really a certain amount of real conscious people in here. And they want those souls. They want those conscious souls. They want them trapped in that mainframe. That's where they get their energy from. It's like a flame. It's like a fire. It's like electricity for them. It's the energy they need to power this demonic, whatever it is they're creating. That, you know, people will have all different religious concepts about what it is. You know, I don't even go there. I just know it's a powerful, energetic, conscious force that exists, and it's the other side of what we're really connected to. They're trying to disconnect us from that and get us into the mainframe. That's what I think a lot of it is about. And we have an opportunity to actually get through it this time. I think this is going to be one of the last resets that they do. Because even when I look at the world, and it gets very esoteric for a lot of people, you go back, I mean, looking at the giant trees that used to exist that are now tabletop mountains, the silicon life that used to exist, the giants that used to be here, the water canopy that Jason talks about that used to be overhead, which would make it possible for things to grow to enormous sizes, and which is also talked about in the Bible and all sorts of places. You'll find references to a water canopy, you know, what caused the great flood when the canopy fell, all of this sort of stuff. Rain for 40 days and 40 nights. And the story of the Great Flood exists in all cultures, in all countries. So we know there has been events like this. Whether there's been more than one, we don't know. But I think every time they do this, they reduce us as well, reduce us in size. As I've said, we think we're so big and we think we're this and we're that. I think we're tiny. We're like the fairies, but we've lost our wings. And we're running around in long grass thinking that these are trees, but they're not. They're long grass. The trees were the silicon trees, the giant tabletop mountains that went up for miles. You know, I don't think anything is what we're told. I've said before, I think we're basically living on the floor of a mine, and that as they're mining the earth, they need smaller and smaller people with smaller and smaller machines to get all the fine stuff out there. So, you know, we're at the point now, we're like, you know, a tenth the size or a hundredth the size of what we originally started off as being. And I think this is the last reset. And ultimately, it's a lot of what they're doing is trapping souls. But really, when you look at it on a deeper level and you look at it all as being one thing and one consciousness experiencing itself subjectively, well, then it's a form of soul purification as well. I've been desperately trying to wake people up because I believe that whatever comes through this reset, we need a certain amount of consciousness to make it true. Obviously, the more awake people, the more people who have the knowledge of what happened now that get through to the other side, then the better it's going to be for us, the better it's going to be for consciousness in general. So I've been saying to people, even bury time capsules and do all sorts of stuff, just preserve this information. So how this all went down is preserved, because the people on the other side of the reset are going to have no reference point for what happened. The kids who grow up into this digital world are going to have no reference point for what freedom looks like. So it's our responsibility to preserve that. So I try to inspire and empower people, but ultimately now it's got to the point that it's virtually every man for himself. You've got to be true to yourself. Sure, help people, try to inspire people around you, but keep your focus on your heart and yourself, because you're the one that needs to get through this. And you're the only one that can do it. It doesn't matter about the other people. You know, if they go into it, they're told, every time you comply with something that you know is wrong, you're giving away a little bit more of your soul. You're chipping away at it until you don't have any anymore. And people end up in the position where they're masked and they're cowed and they're walking between the lines, and they do everything they can just to comply because they're so terrified of what's going to happen if they don't. You come here to get this information and take it with you to the other side. You're not going to give away your soul along the way. That's what it's really all about. So that's the way you've got to look at it.